Just 6 days to go until the World Cup kicks off in Qatar, and celebrities are coming under fire for not standing up to the host's record on LGBTQ+ rights.
Comedian Joe Lycett has challenged David Beckham to drop his deal, his multi-million-pound deal with the Qataris. Lycett has threatened to take away his status as a gay icon. Have a look.
I'm giving you a choice. If you end your relationship with Qatar, I'll donate this 10 grand of my own money, that's £1 for every million you're reportedly getting, to charities that support queer people in football. However, if you do not, at midday next Sunday, I will throw this money into a shredder just before the opening ceremony of the World Cup and stream it live on a website I've registered. Not just the money, but also your status as a gay icon will be shredded. You'll be forcing me to commit a crime.
Yeah, don't hold your breath, Joe. Get that shredder plugged in. Last week, I was... some of you may have seen on the BBC's Have I Got News For You, and there was a bit of an awkward moment when the guest host, Gary Neville, was grilled on his decision to commentate, actually to go to Qatar and commentate at the tournament. You know, you've got people like Robbie going out there to sing, which I must say I'm very surprised at, given all the comments that Robbie Williams has made in the past about gay rights.
The elephant in the room is still there. I mean, you're commentating there, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm commentating there.
And what's the defence? Football term.
We're commentating there. Well, you've got a choice, I think, haven't you?
What, going or not going?
Well, my view always has been that you either highlight the issues and challenges in these countries and speak about them, or you basically don't say anything, you stay back home and don't go. And I've always said we should challenge them.
There's another option. You stay at home and highlight the abuses.
Well, exactly. We're now joined by Dr. Naz Mohammed, who is the first known openly gay Qatari man. It's very good to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming on the programme.
No longer in Qatar.
No, you're in California now, and it's where you... And you've been out of Qatar for 4 years now. You say you'll never go back. And you can't now. Now you've come out. Just for the sake of argument and for clarity, you came out in California. What would have happened to you if you'd come out in Qatar?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So I do live in California. I live in San Francisco. I left Qatar in 2011, so I've been gone 11 years now. I've been living in San Francisco for the last 7 and filed for political asylum in 2015 and was granted asylum in 2017. Coming out for an LGBT person comes in phases, right? So I did come out to my best friend when I was in Qatar. I could not come out the way that I am now, because I don't believe it's possible to be as out as I am as a Qatari and be safe in Qatar.
The scale of the repression is such that, I'll just repeat this, you're the first person that we've spoken to, that anyone has ever seen on television, who's from Qatar, who's willing to admit they're gay. That's how strong the repression is.
Yes, and it's not only that. They wouldn't speak, not only like live on TV, people like when LGBT individuals have been telling other journalists and human rights researchers this year about their experiences, they've been very, very careful about sharing their experiences, even without their name and face, to make sure they can't be even identified through details of their stories, because they can be found. And if they're found, they would be severely persecuted for that.
What is the consequence for, you know, as Richard said, if you'd come out as gay while living in Qatar, what is the consequence for people there where it is against the law?
Well, I can tell you that I have received a lot of direct death threats since I've come out. A lot of people said if they encounter me in Qatar, they'll end my life themselves. So there is that fear of being persecuted by the public, and it's very legitimate fear. It's the reason I left. And besides that, there is state-sponsored persecution of the LGBT community in Qatar. And I went through the work of finding LGBT individuals from home and connecting them to the Human Rights Watch to put a prelim report out this year before the World Cup to establish that we are persecuted and not have the PR and marketing around the World Cup be the only narrative of how Qatar welcomes or treats the LGBT community.
One of the arguments that's been put forward, certainly in this country, I don't know about over in America, is that we should respect the culture of Qatar. We shouldn't be judgmental of their judgmentalism about what it is to be gay, we should simply be, and one of our government ministers has said this, and we're going to talk to him about it a bit later on this show, we should be, gay people should be flexible when they go to, if they go to Qatar for the World Cup. They should keep their gayness a secret. They shouldn't display it in any way, shape or form. But that's because we have to respect that culture. What do you say about that issue of respecting what Qatar does, deliberately does to gays?
Well, I'm going to say that you need to really read between the lines and see who's making these statements. I am not a politician. I have no strategic partnerships and economic relations with the government of Qatar, so I can come out and tell you how I heard his statement. I'm worried about the British fans visiting Qatar and being attacked by the public there. And I'm not sure that the Qatari government can protect them if they're attacked. So try to be careful and be safe when you're in Qatar, because we're not sure we can protect you. But now, as a politician, you want to cover that up with a statement to maintain your relationship with Qatar and say respect their culture and tradition. I think it would be quite different if we didn't have that strategic partnership that Qatar has with different governments.
That's quite a fear, if you're saying that you're worried that gay British fans might be subjected to attacks from other members of the public. What do you think they face from the authorities?
So the authorities has very selective persecution of the LGBT community that are visiting Qatar, or that live in Qatar, depending on whether or not homosexuality is legal or not in their home countries. For example, if you're visiting from the UK, you're very unlikely to be persecuted by the authorities in Qatar directly. But as I mentioned, if you are perceived as provocative by the public, you might be a target. So I do agree that when somebody is on the ground during the World Cup, they need to just really focus on their safety.
As a Qatari man, grew up in the country, knowing you were gay as you got older, can you give us, please, I haven't heard anyone ask this question so far, what is your definition of why the state of Qatar has such a thing about gay? What is their problem? Is it religious, or is it the kind of secular prejudice that we had in this country until the 1960s?
Again, this is my personal opinion. My personal opinion that it has more to do with the authoritarian regime and really controlling the public. And I think that control and controlling families, like, it really applies to so many different issues. It's not only, it doesn't only apply to the LGBT community. Even if you look at women and women's rights, it's also pretty restrictive. And I really think, personally, in my personal experience, I think it has more to do with that than religious and societal values, because I can see all the different ways and the different people that are allowed a pass.
And we just heard from the comedian Joe Lycett, who's challenged David Beckham to drop his deal with the Qataris, threatening to take away his status as a gay icon and shred £10,000 that he would donate to gay rights charities. Do you think David Beckham should be involved?
No. And honestly, it was really tough to go against the PR and marketing for FIFA to get the word out about what's happening to us, because the PR and marketing around the World Cup, combined with the lack of objective country conditions report for the LGBT people in Qatar, can really challenge our plea for asylum after this year. So I've been really trying to tap into all the PR machines that are running, including David Beckham, to give us a voice. I was not successful. I know his PR lead, Victoria Shires, has received my letter to him, so I know they're aware of me, they're aware of my concerns, but they decided not to engage and not to comment. And I don't know what data point they're being presented with, but I am putting evidence-based reports in front of you that what you're doing is consequential. So it is quite disappointing to see that they're not acting.
All right, Dr. Naz Mohammed, thank you very much indeed for talking to us.